Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Now today I've got a very special guest. I'm joined by Man City fan Lucas. And honestly, we've just spoken off air about that game. We did not think it was boring at all. We thought it was very end to end, a quite intense game. But I'm gonna, chat with you about it and with you guys that are watching this to break it down. But thank you so much for coming on my channel. How are you feeling after that game?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. It was a very nervy game, a bit stressful at
Yeah.
times. Yeah,
Yeah, I completely agree. I think for both teams, we couldn't lose this game. We couldn't afford to lose it. We wanted one team really. I think I could see it going either way, but I think a draw. You could understand. We saw that in Liverpool and Man City games. So yeah, I think we completely get that. And I did want to just get your initial thoughts. It was. I think Man City, I would say, had some really good chances. I mean, Arsenal. Jesus did miss quite a few chances. I think he didn't have the best performance. But especially that first half when City had so much possession. I do think we went there for a draw. I don't think we went there to win. But from your point of view, how would you reflect on that result?
I think Arsenal will be the happier of the two.
Yeah,
I think Arteta will be delighted because I thought it was a defensive masterclass.
yeah,
Really well. I know Saka was almost at right back at one time, and Jesus is almost at left back as well. And I thought they
yeah,
really did well. I know people will be disappointed with the Jesus, missed chances, but in a
yeah,
game like that, it's fine margins. And I
yeah,
thought you had the better chances than we did.
yeah.
We didn't work Raya once apart from the Aki chance where it came off his shoulder from the
Mm.
corner. Apart from that, we didn't really work the keeper, and I just thought Gabriel and Saliba were so impressive.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you. I mean, I think, even though Man City did have a lot of, the ball and a lot of possession, I think there wasn't like a lot of clear cut chances where I felt like,
No.
you were going to score. I do think you had a lot of the ball, and I do feel like you would have probably feel more disappointed because, you know, you had some credible players on there, De Bruyne, Haaland, but as you said, Saliba, Gabriel, defensively, we did really good. I think we knew we had to be at our best game today because I think if Arsenal lost, I felt like not only would people write us off, but I definitely think our chances of winning the league would be a lot lower. Um, but I think if Man City lost, wouldn't have been great for them either. But I think it was a really tough game, and as I've mentioned, I do feel like Arsenal came for a draw. I know Odegaard, has been speaking that kind of they weren't really fearing you guys. They wanted to win this game, and I feel like when we actually played, it was a different story. It was a lot harder. I think for me, like I was really surprised how not bad attacking wise, but I expected Arsenal to go out for a bit more against you guys. I know we defended well, but were you surprised? Did you expect a bit more from Arsenal because we have been scoring lots of goals this season?
I thought you'd have more of the ball, if I'm honest. Um,
Yeah,
with the way you've been playing, I don't know if it'd be. I wasn't. Like I said to you just before the show, I thought it'd be 1-1 or
yeah,
2-2. So I expected some goals. I
hmm,
thought it'd be a bit more open.
yeah,
Expect like the second half. The second half opened a bit more, and it was the momentum kept swinging. It kept going from end to end, and it was just really
yeah,
exciting. And
yeah,
I know a few people were probably weren't happy with the referee, but I thought the referee did well with the lack of yellow cards. He
yeah,
tried to let the game flow, which I prefer as well. Yeah, not
mm,
David. Yeah,
yeah.
something not quite right with Haaland. His touches are quite disappointing.
Yeah, I think this season with Holland, don't get me wrong, he has done good, but this season I do feel like he's a little bit. He's not as good as I personally. I think he's not been as good as I thought he would be. But I think
Mm.
it's hard because I suppose each team gets better each year, and I think Gabriel and Saliba can work Holland out really well. I think defensively they're probably the defenders in the league who can just really work him out really well, and I think that's obviously a good thing for us. But for
Mm.
Holland, it's obviously really tough. And I just want to answer this question for both of you. Was today a must win? I think for me, Arsenal just couldn't lose today. I think if you'd have asked me a few weeks ago, I would have said it was a must-win for Arsenal, and I personally do feel a little disappointed we haven't been able to win because I know Jesus did have a few chances. I feel like for Arsenal it could have been a smash and grab. We could have just had a few chances because we did have a few chances and we could have just made the most of that. But I think ultimately for Arsenal we just couldn't win today. But how do you feel about that question?
Yeah, it was a mustn't lose to City, I think, just
Yeah.
because of the running, because we've got Villa on Wednesday coming up, and that'd be a tough game as well at home. Um, I just think obviously with Liverpool winning too, so we're like 3 points behind Liverpool now, so we need a
Yeah, it's
four
getting
got a 4 point swing, and if we have lost that, it makes it's another point. It'd have been even more difficult. Um, and I think the draw suits Arsenal more than City.
yeah.
But City, our record against the top six this season's been really disappointing. We've only beaten United, I think.
Yeah.
We drew with Liverpool twice against Spurs. We drew that game. We've lost to you and drew to you, and we've got to go away to Spurs as well.
Yeah,
So
Spurs have
it's not
noticed. Spurs have got to play us Liverpool, and I think they'll decide
as
things, won't
well.
they?
So that
Yeah,
yeah, and I think Villa as well. I think they've got to play Liverpool too. So it'll be an interesting running. I think we've got like 9 or 10 games left, so it's going to be it's really exciting.
yeah. I mean, for me, like I think this title race is the most exciting like I've probably seen in a while. I mean, I did expect Liverpool to be back up this year competing. I mean, I think it's going to be tough. I think I do see Liverpool dropping points. I think I see all of us dropping some points possibly,
Yeah,
because I know you said we've got Spurs, we've got Villa as well. I think they'll want to get top four. It's a top four race as well, and I think no game is easy predicted. I think it's going to be really tough. I mean, we've still got to play United as well, Old Trafford, and our record there isn't the greatest. So I think all three of us do have really challenging games to come up, but I think this one, like you said, I think we just had to either get a win, get a draw. I think a loss. I think if we lost it, I think mentally maybe it might have affected us a little bit. I think, you know, we haven't a record against you guys. We've not managed to win there for a while. So I think, the fact that we've able to get some points off you this season does help us, with our mindset and how we're able to do it. And obviously, you said yourself, you think we probably had some of the better chances. But for you guys, I suppose looking back in the season, you might back at this game and think, what if, you would have won? What do you think you'd have changed in this game? Because, you did have a good lineup today. You have some great players, but it just didn't seem like it was clicking, because defensively Arsenal did really well to stop you guys from scoring.
um, I think it's difficult really to say what we could have changed just because there was
Yeah.
I don't know that I just think Arsenal were just so good defensively. I mean, there was a time towards I think it's like between the 65th and like the 70th minute, we got the I remember Bernardo and Kevin De Bruyne getting a bit of the better of Saka and White. I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking maybe if we could have put a couple more crosses in, get Haaland to the near post, maybe make a bit of space around there, we could possibly.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then obviously Saka went off about the 75th, 76th minute.
Yeah.
Um, and we made some changes in the 60th. We brought Grealish and Doku on. I just thought maybe if Doku could have
Mm.
ran at your defence a little bit more,
Yeah.
um, just to cause you a few more problems. But overall, not disappointed with the result.
Yeah.
No, with the performance. It's just because Arsenal were just. I thought Arsenal were so good.
Yeah, I mean, I think both teams did themselves proud. I think a draw probably was. I think it was probably a fair result considering how
Oh
Arsenal
yeah,
defended, and obviously keeping Holland quiet, isn't the easiest. But I did want to ask you about a title race because obviously Liverpool are ahead. I think they're 2 points above us, and I think they're 3 points above you guys. I mean, I think personally, even though I've confidence Arsenal can do, I still can't call it right now because it's so close. Do you feel like this game has decided anything, or do you feel like there's 10 more games to go? It's a long way to decide yet.
No, I think it'll go down to probably the last game or the game before that. Just think it's so tight. Obviously, your Liverpool goal difference are quite similar as well, and ours is about 10 back, close to that anyway. So I think all three sides will probably drop points in the game. I think I don't think City will win the league, if I'm honest. I just think there's been a drop off this season. I'm not sure what that is, but I've been really impressed with Arsenal, and I think if they can stay as injury free as they can and try and get Partey back with the fitness, I think Arsenal will possibly do it.
Yeah, it is hard to call at the moment because I look at Liverpool as well. I mean, I know Brighton did give it some in the first half, but I think as well Klopp leaving, I really want to do it for him, and I think Man City have this quality of being able to turn things around. Like last season, Arsenal were at the top for so long, and then we kind of had a bit of a wobble, and then UEFA took us. So things can definitely change. But I think like last season, Saliba being out injured.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure if we would have won it because I still think we needed like a Declan Rice or a bit of experience, but I do think it definitely really made things a lot more difficult because we were kind of left with Rob Holding, who is a good defender, but he's not really on Saliba's level, and it's really hard to fill in, Saliba's boots.
No.
I think, like you said, we saw Partey. I think it was good to see him, get his fitness back, and I think for us, it's going to be interesting with the injuries. I think if our injuries don't happen, and I think Rice is a massive factor in that. I think if he can stay fit, I think we could really do it. But I think I think the Spurs game I look at, and I do get a bit worried because even though Spurs haven't done as good as us this season, when it's like those games in North London Derby, I think form kind of goes out the window for them games because you want to win it for pride reasons. You just want to do it. So, yeah, I do feel quite nervous about the games coming up. But as I did mention, Man City did have a lot of possession. They did really well in the first half. I think it was very much Man City in that first half. I mean, we know this season Arsenal have done really well defensively, but did you expect, perhaps Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel to kind of defend as well as they did?
I thought Keyhole would probably be a weak link, if I'm honest. Gabriel and Saliba are excellent, and I've been really impressed with White as well. And plus, he's I think he's had the international break. Gabriel's, I think he picked up an injury during the international break, just before it, so he missed. So he's had a rest anyway. And Saliba was in the French squad, I believe, but he doesn't really play that many minutes, so he was fresh for that game.
Yeah.
And I think Haaland picked up a knock as well, but I don't know what it is with Haaland at the moment. He's just.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
I'm not really on about the goal scoring. I'm more on about his. I don't think he's doing enough for the team in terms of the control of the ball. He needs to, do you remember the game last year when he held it up for De Bruyne for the first goal?
Yeah.
He needs to do something more like that because he was so difficult to handle last year. And obviously, I know last season it was Holden and Gabriel. And Saliba was out injured. But I just expect a bit more from Haaland, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I think, he has scored a lot, especially in the Champions League as well, but I do agree with your point. And I mean, this is a good question because I suppose, like, with Man City, you really wanted to win the Champions League. That was a big ambition, and you've won the league. You've won FA Cups, like this person said. Do you think the hunger might have gone a little bit? I mean, this season you're obviously still up there for the league, and you've still got a lot to play for, especially the Champions League as well. But I suppose when you've won it once, is there the same hunger to do it again?
No, I think the hunger's still there. It's just
Mm-hmm.
obviously when you get rid of Gundogan, um, you get rid of Mahrez, and you get rid of a couple others. It's always going to the port as well. It's always
Yeah,
going to be difficult to replace that with. So we brought in Doku, who's still young. Um,
yeah,
I don't think he's been good enough, really. I mean, I do like him, but
yeah,
you saw his chances today. They were a bit disappointing. I mean, one of them went to the corner flag, so that speaks volumes about his performance today. Um,
yeah.
it's difficult, really. I still think the hunger's there. It's again,
Mm-hmm.
I think a little bit of naivety at sometimes this season, defensively especially, because we haven't scored as many. We
Mm-hmm.
conceded more. Um, Actually, that's why I think one of the reasons why I think Arsenal probably will win the league is because their defence's record is so impressive, and obviously the
Yeah,
goal scoring's gone up. Liverpool, I know they've they're conceding, but again, they're outscoring. But I think that will catch up with them, especially in the big as the season goes on. Um,
yeah.
I do think City will now they'll try to win the league definitely, and see what
Mm.
they're hoping. They'll hope Liverpool and Arsenal drop points, but I think the main prize will be the Champions League and the FA Cup.
Yeah, I think, you've got a long way to go with other competitions as well, Champions League as well. You can win other success. I think it's so tough to call at the moment. I think it's so competitive. I mean, even though I think it's hard, like you said, when you lose, really important players, it's hard to replace them. I've always said with Partey, I'd be open to maybe selling him in the summer because of his injuries, but then it's also, could you find someone who's as good as him or who could replace him? It's hard to find someone on that level because I know for us, Xhaka leaving, I felt like, what, a bit of a shame. It was last season, maybe this season he could have left, but looking back, Declan Rice obviously come in, and I think Xhaka's amazing. But you look at Rice, he just elevates the team differently. So it is hard to find those replacements. And like you said with Doku, I think a lot of he's been getting a lot of hype, which he has deserved. But maybe the pressure as well can be hard on you as a player as well if you're getting a lot of when the media are kind of bigging you up a bit much, and I think pressure does get to you. Do you feel like that has happened in your case with some of the players? I mean, I agree that players should get, credit when it's due. I think it must be
Yeah,
hard though when you get too much, credit, and there's that pressure on you when you're just trying to enjoy your football, and it's hard to, you know, when the media's talking, it's kind of hard to switch it off really.
yeah. I think at some clubs, it's easier to
Mm.
um, enjoy football, but whereas at like City, it's just um, there's the pressure's gone up at City. Do you know what I mean? I mean, years
Yeah.
ago, when I was a kid, there was no pressure on City. I think we wanted to get into the top 10, try and get Europe if we could, do a cup run, but we never did anything. Obviously, nowadays we're a different machine.
Hmm.
Um, I remember seeing Doku, I think it was about a month or two ago. He apologised for his performances because he was getting a lot of. I think he got a bit of abuse online and a lot of criticism, and so he apologised for that, which I understand that, but I want to see it on the pitch.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
In his
I want to see it on
performances.
the pitch. Yeah. And yeah, you were stating obviously with Rice replacing Xhaka. Did like Xhaka, but I did think his time was
Mhm.
probably. I think it's the right time for him to leave. And then
Yeah.
obviously City wanted Rice as well, and I wanted Rice, but I think the move for Rice to Arsenal is a better move than it would have been to City, if I'm
Yeah,
honest.
I suppose, we've seen it with Calvin Phillips a bit. If Rice came to City, would he be in the starting lineup? I mean, it's hard. I mean, I'd hope to think he would be, but it's hard because when you've got a big squad, you will get benched a lot. So I do think with Declan Rice, having those two options, you would think Man City have been really successful. Um,
Yeah,
Pep
yeah,
Guardiola has built this incredible legacy. And you would think maybe would you want to go there because you've got the trophies, but then it's also hard because you wouldn't necessarily get the game time you might want. And I suppose if you look at someone like Calvin Phillips, if you asked me would I want him a year or two ago, I probably would have said yeah. And now, because he's not had the game time, he's probably lacking a bit of confidence now. And I think, in hindsight, probably Rice to Arsenal is a good thing because he's like our star player. He's getting that game time, and I think his experience has really elevated this team. I think we obviously had experience before, but I
yeah.
do, I do, I do think he's helped us. And I did want to ask you about some players that used to play for you guys. Jesus and Zinchenko, and I wanted just to touch on them because for
Yeah.
me personally, this season, I mean, you might let me know what you think because you're like outside of Arsenal, but I think obviously Jesus does get injured like Zinchenko does, but I have seen a bit of a drop off with them both. I think Kivior for me is the player I'd want to see over Zinchenko because I think unfortunately, I don't know if this happens a lot at City, but
Mm.
Zinchenko has a really good part of his game in the attacking sense where when he's playing, he's just incredible when you don't want him out the team. But defensively, he can get caught out a little bit. I mean, Jesus today,
Yeah.
I won't be too harsh on him. He's had injuries, and when you come back, I was surprised to see him start. Actually, I thought maybe Trossard would start, but I think
Mm.
it's difficult coming back when you've been injured. But I just want your thoughts on them. Do you feel like you could see them having another few years at Arsenal, or do you feel like maybe in the future it could be time to move them on?
I think with so I actually really liked Jesus and Zinchenko at City.
Yeah.
Um, Again, Jesus was never the Aguero like replacement. He was
Hmm.
obviously always going to be his understudy, and I thought he was. He played a lot for us on the right wing. He was excellent, hard worker. He deserved to move, and he moved to Arsenal, which is a bigger club than City, and he deserved that.
Hmm.
I think it's done really well for you, apart from obviously the injuries. Obviously, you'd
Yeah.
want him to score more, but it's just so difficult in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And then also, you mentioned Shinchenko. He so Shinchenko was forced into left back, but he's a midfielder, so he's always played out of position.
Yeah.
He's technically excellent on the ball. Defensively, he will switch off, which you've seen. Which is
Yeah.
he also did at City as well. In terms of more the tracking back, sometimes he would when he was playing at left back, he'd let the right winner get well ahead of him. So Zinchenko would be like 10, 15 yards behind him, and then it cost us a goal. Um, but Zinchenko was key. Do you remember when we won the league against Villa when we
Yeah.
took like 2-0 down? Uh, he was key. 2-1 down. So he was key. He made one of the key passes to get us to win the league. So he can do that. He can help you win a game. Yes, he can cost you. I would probably possibly I'd keep Zinchenko, but I'd use him more as a midfielder to
Yeah.
fully control. I do think in the long term you're gonna have to get in the sun, for example, you're gonna have to get a left back. Um, Why that's Tierney, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I personally,
I
yeah,
think he's. I reckon
but that's
that's
gone
him
now.
gone now. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
he's
think
gone.
he
He's gone.
suits our system anymore, unfortunately.
No, but I think Arteta has a relationship with Jesus and Zinchenko, so I think
Yeah,
they'll still be there. I still think they'll be there for at least another year,
yeah, I do. I don't
unless a
think.
suitable offer. Yeah, yeah, unless they get the right offer.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen links with Zinchenko leaving. I wouldn't really want him to leave just yet. I mean, I do think it would be good to play him in midfield, but I don't think we've ever really done that. I don't see Arteta doing that. I think it's sort of left back. I mean, I like Jesus
No,
a lot. I think in the Champions League he is incredible, and that's why I'd want to keep him. I think in the league, would like to see a bit more from him, but I think his overall play is pretty good. I think when you've had an injury and you've not really had consistent game time, I think it will affect you. You're not going to be great straight away.
yeah,
So I do. I
yeah.
think you expect, that from him. So that's why I was surprised Arteta did start him, because he's not really played a lot of game time. But like you said, I think when you buy City players, I think a lot of them have been really good for us. I think last season, I would say Zinchenko was a lot better. I'm not saying that he's not been good this season, but I think, like you said, there are parts of his game that, is a little bit worrying. But I think it brings that competition in now to see with Kivior. I mean, I thought Kivior, I think in the first half, I think he was a little bit unsettled. I was personally surprised, Man City at the pace they were going. I think Man City this season have been great, but I think I've seen you drop results against teams that I wouldn't think you would. And I thought Arsenal would have a bit more control in the game. And like someone said here, Phil said, we didn't ever look like we were going to really score or win that. But I think when I've been on Twitter, I think the overall, fans are happy with a draw. I think we all take that. I mean, I think for you guys, it's probably a bit more of a disappointing result, like you said, because I think you did have to win this. Really, I did expect you to maybe win it, considering, I suppose with the media they kind of hyped you up a bit, and I think with the players you've got as well, it probably is a bit disappointing. But as I've mentioned, Arsenal, defensively we did well, and I'm pretty sure this season we've taken 4 points off you guys to Liverpool. I know your record against top six probably hasn't been as good as ours, but do you think, last season we weren't able to do that as much? Do you think this season Arsenal have improved and have matured a little bit?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Arteta's learned a lot more as well, which is good to see. Um, I think your biggest test is to come now in these. So it's the 1st of April tomorrow. We've got like another month and a half
Yeah,
until the end of the season. Plus, you've got the Champions League. So this is the crunch time now after this international break. So this is where you'll see how much the players have improved and how much the manager's improving.
yeah,
Um, I remember watching you against Porto, and I remember seeing how you were nervous, but I've seen that in City. The Champions League is
yeah.
completely different. It's a different level. So I understand the nerves about that. But you got through it,
Hmm.
and that experience will help you grow. And the experience of last season's disappointment in the title race, I think, will help you. I think it really
Yeah.
will.
Yeah, I think I see it this season as that. I think with the league, I would say we've got a bit more better chance in Champions League, because I think the Champions League, it's really tough, because I suppose if we did beat Bayern and we got through, we'd probably play you guys, Madrid, either way. I think it would be really hard to get past that. I mean, I think we can win it, but I don't expect us to win it, because it's our first season back in the Champions League. But I do feel as well, I know Liverpool in Europa League, which I think they'll easily win that. I think with us as well, with the Champions League, because it's quite high intensity, you play really tough teams. I think there will be a lot of tired legs as well, and I think we're coming to the stage now where either team can't really afford injuries. And I think, like you said, if Arsenal could really be one or two injuries away from maybe a disaster. I mean, I know we have players that can come in, but I just think either team, could have a few injuries and it could really dampen the mood of the squad. So I think it's going to be really tough. We're getting to that time of the season where I think as a neutral, it's exciting to watch the title race, but for us, it's pretty nerve-wracking because, we all want to win it for different reasons and it is tough. And I want to ask you about Nketiah. I mean, for me, I never see him play anymore. I reckon he's gone. I think it's probably the right time because he's helped us. He helped us last season to get to the league and win it. But, Arteta's not really giving him game time. He'd probably give him 5 or 10 minutes here and there. But for you, as someone outside of Arsenal, do you reckon that it'll be his last season at Arsenal?
Yeah, I think so. I think I mean, I quite like Nketiah. I think he did quite a good job for you last season. Even obviously, I don't think he's at the level of Arsenal, but
Yeah.
I sort of think he'd be probably between like 15th and 10th, like eighth position in the league, that sort of team.
Yeah.
Like no disrespect to him, but it's just he'll probably score 1 in 4, 1 in 5, which in the
Yeah,
Premier
that's a
League
problem.
isn't. It's not at the level that's required to win leagues. I think if you do replace them, um, it's interesting who you bring in because I know Tony's been linked, and I do like him. Um, but I do wonder if his attitude will fit in with Arteta's
Yeah, that's what I've worried about as
mindset.
well.
Yeah, so I think move him on. I know Osman's been linked. He'd be a good signing.
Yeah.
Again, is he at the level that Arsenal need? I'm not 100% sure.
Mm.
Because he does miss chances too, but even the best miss chances. And I think Isak would be a good signing too.
Yeah, I know that I don't necessarily think Arteta's probably seen him as someone. I don't know if we would go for him necessarily, but I know that in the fan base, I think if you said Tony or Isaac, I think a lot of us would say Isaac. I think Tony, I like him. When I watched him for England the other day, I
Mhm.
thought, there's something about him that I like. He's exciting to watch, but I think the last few years, my only issue is his sort of attitude. Not that his attitude is bad, but I think he's a bit too honest. In interviews about Brentford, like I find him being a little bit disrespectful. And I think if that sort of character came to Arsenal, I just don't think that would sit in right at all because we've had that
No,
stuff with Aubameyang and it's in the past. We don't really want players that won't get on with Arteta. I think for me, I'd like him to come, but I just think, like you said, I don't know. The attitude might be a bit of a clash with Arteta, possibly, which
I
would be,
think it would be.
yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing as well because I know that I don't know if he would be this much money now, but I know he was. People were saying about 100 million, and I think it's not worth that. I mean, Declan
It's a lot
Rice
of
at the
money.
time, yeah, Declan Rice at the time, I thought 100 million that is a lot. But if you look at it now, we probably got it for a little cheap deal. If you're looking at it, because he's
Oh,
really,
Rice
yeah.
was a bargain. Absolute bargain.
At the time, I didn't think it, but now I'm looking at him like he was definitely a
No,
bargain.
I've always I wanted Rice about 3 or 4 years ago at City just because I spoke to I spoke to a coach that used to work at West Ham, and he was saying he's going to be special. Um, and he wasn't expensive either, but obviously he's a West Ham boy. I know he's a Chelsea fan. He's a Chelsea, but he's been at West Ham for a few years, and he always gets like he gives like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, always. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I think with Declan Rice is that you know what you're getting from him. You know, don't think he rarely has a bad game, which is incredible. I mean, it must have been hard for him. You know, with the Man City thing, people, some people in the media did think, did Man City want Declan Rice or did they just want Arsenal to, keep pushing more money for him? I personally think Man City did want Rice because each season,
Oh, the City wanted them.
yeah,
Believe me.
I don't
Yeah.
believe that they just did it so Arsenal would pay more or whatever. I think each
No.
season you've got to improve. You've got to keep getting better because if you stay as you are, teams are going to overtake you. So I definitely think City had an interest in him because I could see him, fit into your team, but it's hard because I suppose would he have gotten that game time? Do you reckon Rice would have, come into the
Um,
team straight away and played all the time,
I
or do you
think
reckon?
I think he could have got game time, but it would have slowed Alvarez's development, and I think
Yeah,
Alvarez, because he started so many games this season, it would have slowed down his progress, and I don't think he'd have been happy.
yeah,
So it's not signing Rice has benefited us because of for players like Alvarez, but he wouldn't get ahead in the. He would have played alongside Rodri and a Bernardo Silva or a De Bruyne. I don't think he would have. But we're too reliant on Rodri, if I'm honest.
yeah.
Um,
I think when he's
and
not
if
playing the different team, really, he's so good.
yeah, it's just the level of the control goes. It just we still play good, but there's just a slight drop, like 10%, 15, whatever, and that is enough for us to draw or lose again.
Yeah, because I know when we played you guys at the Emirates this season, I think he had a suspension or he was injured, and you know we won that. I mean, I know it was a deflection, but we just seemed that we could
They all
play. Yeah, we could
Yeah, they all
literally.
count.
Yeah, I mean, I say, win's a win. You'll take anything against City,
Exactly.
but I think we seemed a bit more free flowing without him on the pitch. I think that's what he does. I think he's a really
Mm.
tough player to play against. So, um, I completely agree. I mean, it's going to be tough with the league. I think it's hard, even though I've personally never seen Arsenal win the league, so I do want it. But then I do think, I knew last season if we hadn't won it last season, in my head I would have thought, next season teams are going to get better. I mean, there was talks of Spurs at the time doing well. I think each season teams definitely improve. I mean, I think, Liverpool next season with their new manager, whoever that is, it'll be interesting to see that. I mean, for you guys, I look at you and I think, you're doing well this season. You've got a lot of opportunities to win silverware. And then you might have not have had been as good this season with some things. But for you, would there be any players that you think need to get rid of, or is there any players you think you should bring in this summer? Because I think for Arsenal, I think this season we've been amazing, but I always do think there's rooms for improvement. Of you mentioned the left back position. I think Arsenal
Sure.
should always make some improvements. So, do you feel like there's any players that you should bring in?
Oh, that's a good question. I think Kimmich has been linked to City. Um, from Bayern, I really like him as a player. I like Musiala as well. I'd like
Yeah,
to bring one of them two in to City. Um, I think Calvin Phillips will leave, but it's with the I think he's on about 100 grand or something close to that.
that's
So
crazy.
I know I never I feel bad because I do like him. He seems like a
Yeah,
nice guy, but he's just not at the level that City require.
yeah,
So yeah, unfortunately, I'd have to. He'd be one the first out the door if it was up to me. Um, I think Bernardo, might want to leave. Um, he could stay for another year, but I do think he'd like to go to Barca. Um, which, if we got the right money for, I'd reluctantly sell. Um, only if the offer's right, Wookie. If it's the right, correct, an offer good, acceptable to the club, I'll take it.
What
But
offer
it's
would you think? What offer would you be happy with then as an acceptable?
I don't know how long he's got left in his contract. If he's got like a year or two, I'll probably take about 60 or 50 or
Yeah,
60. Obviously, because he's getting a bit older now as well. You don't need to get like 100 million or anything like that ridiculous.
yeah,
So probably 50 or 60, maybe a bit more if we got it. Cancelo will be leaving again, but with Barcelona's finances, you don't know if that's going to be a loan deal. I'd rather just sell him.
yeah.
Good player, but I think he hasn't got the correct action. Yeah, Bernardo's he's one of the best players I've seen at City.
Yeah, I love
He's
him. I think he's incredible.
it's just getting the ball with him. He's just as a footballer, I could watch him all day.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
loved him watching him over the years. Like you just can't get the ball off him. He's incredible. I mean, I think the striker situation for Arsenal is definitely something we should, do. I think there are players at our club where, like Reece Nelson, Nketiah, El Neni. I don't mind El Neni actually in the squad, but then he's literally getting a free season ticket by being here. I mean, I don't mind him being here because I think he's a nice person to
he's
have
got the
around.
best seat in the house, isn't he? He's got the best seat in the
Honestly, I'm
house.
jealous of him. Like he gets to go to every game for free. I mean, he barely really. He probably plays, 5 or 10 minutes every so often. But even if he
You know what he
came on for
reminds me
like
of?
who,
He's like a third goalkeeper, El Neni. He's like a
yeah,
third
never
goalkeeper.
played. I know. I mean, I would think. I think he's happy to be. I think if he wasn't happy, he wouldn't be here really. So I reckon that he's just enjoying it, but I'm kind of jealous. Like he gets to go to every game. I mean,
Mm,
even when he's came on for like 2 minutes, he's literally had so much energy. I think he's one of the nicest guys here. So I mean, I don't mind if we
mm.
keep him or sell him. I think the striker one is definitely something we should sort. I mean, I know like we've mentioned there are a few options out there. I mean, Ali Watkins is another. I mean, I don't.
Watkins is
Yeah,
brilliant.
I like him, but I just think would he elevate this team? Like, I think he would score a lot more goals. I think he's better than what we have right now. I reckon he would really
He'd
help us.
improve you. Yeah,
Yeah, I think he'd improve us, but would he take us to that next level? I'm not sure, but I think
difficult to
if
say.
he improves us, yeah, it is hard to say because I think at the moment, we are scoring goals, a lot of goals, and our goal difference has improved so much. But I definitely think he would be a good option there. I'm pretty sure he was an Arsenal fan growing up, or
Mm.
as a young kid. So, I'd be happy. Hey, so if there's anyone from our first 11 you'd want to upgrade? I mean, I don't actually know. I look at our team and I think every player is good enough. I mean, I know I've mentioned Jesus probably needs a bit more game time to kind of get up to his level. I do think in the league he's not able to score as much as he is in the Champions League, but I look at our squad now and I think every player deserves to be in the starting 11. But for you, do you reckon there's any players in our starting 11 that we could get better players? I mean, for me, I've loved Shaka. I've always thought we could get someone better than him, but I don't know if I look at any of these players and think we can improve with any of these. I mean, it is a difficult one to answer, really.
Yeah, definitely the striker.
Yeah,
Um, I think your left wing's pretty good because you've got Martinelli or Trossard. I think right wing you've got Saka. He's a starter. He's the first name on your team sheet with
yeah,
Odegaard and Rice. I'd definitely try and get a backup winger for Saka, just
yeah,
because
definitely.
I fear an injury for him because of the amount of
Hmm.
time he gets kicked,
Yeah,
which would be really disappointing because he's such a good. I love what I watch. So I'm a City fan because of my dad and my granddad, but where I grew up, I'm from Jersey, and my
right.
neighbours were Arsenal fans. So this is when I'd always watch Arsenal matches, and I watch City matches, and I watch Arsenal matches as well. And Saka's one of my favourite Arsenal players. So I'd like to just see Arteta protect him a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely.
Just because you don't want to see him go off injured, and you don't want to see him, get a bad injury. In midfield, you could get an upgrade on Jorginho.
Yeah,
Good
it's a
player. I mean, he's a really good. I'd keep him as a squad player. I'd keep him for his experience because that's. I think that's so valuable. Defensively, you probably need a backup right back to White. Get rid of Cedric. Like you said, El Neni probably go as well. Get rid of Nketiah. Tierney will be gone.
Yeah,
You
I
got
don't see Tierney coming
Zinchenko.
back. Yeah.
You got Tomiyasu. Again, the only problem for me, my worry about Arsenal is the injury record for a lot of their players.
Yeah, we've not got the best injury record. I know a lot of our players have been injured. I mean, Jesus, every season he will have a few injuries. This is a good comment actually about Timber White. I mean, I can't wait to see Timber.
Timber can play. Oh, yeah, I forgot about Timber because
I forgot as well. Ramsdale, yeah, he'll be
yeah,
gone unfortunately. But
yeah, it's sad about Ramsdale, but Arteta is done. It's been ruthless, which in a way is good to see.
yeah,
But on the personal level, it's obviously going to be disappointing for Ramsdale. But it's football.
yeah.
And
I mean, yeah.
you want to win as well. So to give you the best chance of winning, I think they've done the
Yeah,
right thing.
I mean, now that the season's nearly over, I do see that Raya is a bit better than Ramsdale in the sense that we're keeping more clean sheets and we're able to. I just think defensively we look better with Raya, and I think at the start I was really gutted because I think Raya, it took him a while to really adjust. I mean, I think there were games like the Luton game where he would make so many mistakes, but I think it's hard for him coming into the Arsenal now because Ryan and Ramsdale was so loved by fans, and it puts him in a bit of a awkward position at the start because he's sort of taking Ramsdale's place, but he's there to do that anyway. So, yeah, I think the goalkeeper situation, I think, like you said, football, you've got to be ruthless if you want to win leagues. I think, because Ramsdale would make a few mistakes, and looking back, has it cost us the league last season? I don't think it has, but it definitely had an impact on that as well.
It didn't. It certainly didn't help. Because
yeah.
do you remember the 3-3 game with Southampton?
Oh God, that was a nightmare.
Yeah, so I was at the cinema I was at the cinema at the time, and I got the notifications. And I remember the reaction to that, and it was really bad. Yeah, it was really bad. And then I thought, so when they started making the changes with Raya, and then Raya he's like the first 2-3 games. Do you remember the reaction to Ramsdale clapping Raya in the stands? And
oh yeah, I remember that.
yeah, I remember that, and I remember Nick Ramsdale about basically to Carragher saying my boy's showing class, unlike you, basically. And yeah, to be fair to Ramsdale, Timber's to come back. Yeah, he's going to be a good player. Yeah, but it's the right time to. If I'm Arsenal, I'll try and keep Ramsdale because he's contracted to Arsenal for a couple more years.
Yeah, do you know what's weird? He literally just signed a deal and then he just stopped playing. It's really bad because I suppose he was getting prepared to have another good season with Arsenal, but I do think these factors do change things. I mean, Raya himself has made some mistakes, but I think because we've been able to win in them games like the Luton one, I suppose we got a bit lucky at the end. Rice did score that one, but I suppose these are the factors that do change things. But I think with Ramsdale, I think he is an all-round good person. That's why he's been happy with Ryan. I think he will have thought in moments, I wish that was me, I wish I was playing, and I think that's
Yeah, sure.
understandable because he's built this great
Yeah, yeah.
connections on the pitch, and even though he
Mm.
probably wasn't an Arsenal fan growing up, you feel like he is because
He
he
is
really,
now, yeah.
yeah, he gives it back to the rival fans, and you just really can't help but love him. So I think he's been amazing. I do think Jamie Carragher and the media were quite out of order to kind of
Yeah,
criticise him
I
like
didn't
that
like that.
because
I didn't like
because
that.
I do think as well, like as a footballer, personally, like he might have really struggled with how he was feeling mentally. I'm sure he was, and for Carragher and that to give him more criticism than he doesn't need, it's not going to
Mm.
make him feel any better. And yeah, it's not been easy for Amstel, like you said. I think the media, I don't think they need to really
Nah,
be
some
like
of
that.
them are horrible. Some of them are horrible. Um, One thing I was going to mention as well is so City have got a top keeper in Edison. He makes mistakes, and
Yeah,
so does Allison. So I wouldn't really worry too much about the mistakes because they'll happen anyway. Because every player makes mistakes. They're human.
yeah, exactly.
So and Arteta won't be too concerned about that, and I think Arteta he'll be enormously proud tonight. I guarantee you that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
of the team.
no, I feel proud of how we've played it, but I do think, like Phil said in the chat, there's a part of you that does think, we could have done a bit more to change it and win. But I do think,
Of course.
you would feel more proud than annoyed. I know the players won't have wanted a draw; they'd have wanted to win. But I think, like you said, we have really improved the last few years. I remember a few seasons ago. I'm pretty sure we lost 5-0 to you guys, and I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
I was just like I just couldn't believe it. I mean, look at the players Arteta had. No
hmm
disrespect. Like you look at like a Kolasinac or whoever we had then, Mustafi, all those players, you
sure.
wouldn't ever see them players at a Liverpool, at a Man City, or maybe United. You
No,
wouldn't see them there. So why would we accept them at Arsenal? I mean, no player ever should have to go through abuse of any sort. I know they have had that at some point, but I think you look at players Arteta's had to, deal with it then, and you look at the squad now. I think he is showing that he can really get the best out of really good players. I mean, Xhaka as well, another one. When that situation happened, I'm not blaming it all on him because I do think fans that have used him are a big
yeah,
fault.
I remember that, and I still so I watch AFTV
Yeah,
quite regularly, and I remember the reaction to that on AFTV, and they were basically saying they never want to see him play for the club again. He was a disgrace, etc. From a human level, you can understand Xhaka's reaction to it.
yeah,
Um, but what's pleasing to see is how he overcame that.
yeah,
It's like a dark time in his career at Arsenal, but he overcame it. Uh, yeah, he's played out a bit further forward. With Arteta, he was a lot better. Um, he had a very personable relationship with Arteta, very close,
hmm,
um, and he was key in the dressing room. Even though he wasn't. He was considered like a vice captain,
yeah,
um, and I think he left with his head held high instead of a bit of a downer, which you've seen other players falling out with managers before. So
yeah.
that's a good thing in terms of respect out of Xhaka, that he left with his head held high, and I think if players like Ramsdale were to leave, he can hold his head high as well.
Yeah, I think the Xhaka one is a weird one because when that
Mm.
incident happened, I remember like I watched the game. I wasn't really checking online what people were saying,
hmm
and I felt. I mean, for me, everyone is different. I think back then in generations, booing is a popular thing. People do it. As a part of football. I mean, for me, I wouldn't ever boo a player. I just wouldn't really, unless it's someone that's really annoyed us or gone to a team and done really well. I think that's a bit different. But when I saw Orange fans booing Xhaka, I did feel a bit disheartened by it. I felt a bit disappointed because as a player, if you've not had a great game, you don't need someone telling you. They already know they've not had a good game
They
anyway.
know, believe me,
Yeah,
they know.
like the thing is, that's why if a player has a really poor game, I'm not going to come on here and slam them because they'll know themselves they could have done better. So I think with Xhaka, although I was with him with that, I think I'm pretty sure he might have chucked the captain's armband down or something like that. And
I think he did.
I think at that point I felt I wouldn't ever say it publicly, but I think I was. If you left, I wouldn't have been sad. Let's just say.
Yeah.
But I think with Arteta now, he really did change that around for Xhaka. I mean, unfortunately, Xhaka won't go down as a legend because it's been really strange. But if we had won the league maybe last season, he could have possibly nearly got a status like that. He wouldn't have ever got a status like a Tony Adams or an Henri, but he would
I
have.
think you've, yeah, because some clubs have got like I've got legends, but then they've got cult heroes as well. We probably would
Yeah.
have fallen under that bracket.
Yeah, I think you wouldn't look at Xhaka and think, you're a legend because legend is a really strange one because everyone has different opinions of what a legend is, and I know the word legend does go around quite easily these days.
It
So
does. It does.
it is hard because your opinion of a legend might be different to mine, but I definitely do think that Xhaka was more of like a cult hero. I think last season I watched him and I think I just really admired him. So I think when he left, I was a bit sad because I couldn't help but feel like there was more that he could have given to us. But I think at the same time, you could see the fans loved him at the end. I think it's really lovely to see. I completely agree with what Phil here said. I think to be a legend, I do think it happened. I think you've got to have a good connection with the fans, definitely. I think it's also about what you win as well because
Yeah.
I think the reason on like say Harry Kane for example, he is an absolute phenomenal player, but what has he won in his career? I couldn't tell you what he's won because I don't think he's won anything. So
It was at
I
Spurs.
think
What do you expect?
I think Henri earned his status not only because he inspired generations of fans, but what he won as well. He got us to those league titles, Champions League finals. Like he was the guy that did that. So I do feel bad for Kane though because Bayern Munich don't look like they're going to win it. I don't think. I mean, I'm
Well,
not really keeping on touch of it, but
I mean, you say that, but they were lucky last season. They won it on goal difference, so you can sort of see that their decline coming anyway. But I think with in regards to Harry Kane, I think he's probably the best striker in the world,
yeah,
if I'm honest. But he's not been at the right club for whatever reason. And then you talk about Thierry Henry. I mean, he's an Arsenal legend, but he's a football legend as well.
Yeah,
He's an icon.
I mean, do you know someone like me? I think Aguero a lot as well. I think he's an inspiration. You can have a lot of heroes, role models that aren't necessarily your, people like you said. Players can be, legends of football. So I think as well. If you speak about Henri, you don't have to be an Arsenal fan to know what he did in the game. He changed football and how people viewed it. So I definitely, I love this comment. Can't wait to see Kane lift the Cannon Trophy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I suppose England, he could win something for England, but then with Gareth Southgate, I don't feel like
England are Spursy as well, so that's not.
I know. I look at this England team. I do look at this England team and think I just don't see us win anything. I mean, the Euros. I mean, we could win that, but I don't see it happening. So I do feel bad for Kane in that sense. But I think we all knew he would never win anything with Spurs. I think Spurs are just known for bottling things, which is obviously nice as an Arsenal fan, but it's probably a shame because say he has, grandkids when they're older and they'll say to him, what have you won? Nothing, but I've scored so many goals, I've broken so many records, but I've not won anything. It'll be so bad.
So with Aguero, him and Suarez as well.
Yeah.
The only thing that lets things down for Luis Suarez for me is the biting incident and
that
and the alleged racist abuse incident. that's what sort of lets them down a little bit. But Aguero wasn't perfect either. I remember the shove on the female referee linesman.
Yeah.
So I remember that was a controversial incident.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of legends in the game. I really liked Hazard for Chelsea when he was there.
Yeah, I
It's,
did
do
as
you know
well.
what? It's a real shame in a way because when he left Chelsea, I thought, you know what? I can't wait to see what he does in the other leagues. And then it just
Mhm.
never worked out. We had injuries, and it's hard really because it's like with Mane as well. When he left Liverpool, I thought he's really gonna, it's hard. You never predict these things. Sometimes you're better staying at the club and not doing that move. It is hard. You can't
It's a
predict
risk. It's a risk.
Yeah,
It's a
always.
big risk. I mean, I think it's good to take the risk, but
Yeah,
it's good to take the risk, but it's just so difficult. I mean, I remember when, obviously as a City fan, I didn't like United, but
yeah,
I've always liked Ronaldo. I
yeah,
don't like the diving and the play acting things like that, but as a player, he's fantastic. And I remember
yeah.
the peak Messi Ronaldo years are the best I've seen.
Oh
I used
yeah.
to, I love watching La Liga, so I do. It's just brilliant to watch, and just to watch them two was a joy.
Yeah, do you know what I've noticed? If I put Barcelona Madrid on now, it's not the same it was, a few
No,
years ago.
it's not the same.
It just feels like, Messi as well, Well, I feel like Neymar, I mean, with Neymar as well, you watch him, Suarez, and it's a Messi. It just doesn't feel the same anymore. It's like
No,
when Messi left Barca, it just felt like a part of football died that day. It
it's
is
it's like it's like the soul had gone
yeah, it's really strange,
almost.
isn't it? How
So it's
that
like this. Yeah. So yeah.
Beckham, yeah. I always like Ronaldo
Fine.
actually. Um, it's really weird with the debate with Messi, Ronaldo. People say who's your favourite, and like you said, I've always loved Ronaldo, but I just don't like players with that arrogance. I'm not saying Ronaldo has a lot of arrogance, but I suppose maybe when we saw him at United recently, um, I was actually thinking, I did actually think they would win the league with Ronaldo, and it just shows you that you can't win the league with just one player. It's all about a team thing. But yeah, Ronaldo, like you said, I would have loved him at Arsenal. I mean, I know we were close to getting him one day.
Yeah,
Oh,
under
imagine that!
Wenger.
Oh my
I
god!
know one of the many Arsene Wenger could have signed.
I know you guys. I honestly that day, I'm pretty sure you guys were about to sign Ronaldo, or something was
Yeah.
happening.
So
That day was crazy.
I was traveling back from my family in Ireland, and I remember just getting getting notifications on Twitter. And my best mate is a United fan, so I was texting him saying, "Oh, we're getting Ronaldo." I didn't actually think it would happen,
Yeah.
but I did want him at the time, um, just because it was too good to turn down. You know what I mean? He's such a good player.
Yeah.
Uh, but not getting him and not getting Kane last season was a good thing because obviously we've won the treble um, with Haaland in his first season. Um, and I was talking to my mate. I saw an article about Haaland possibly leaving to go to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Um, I think that will happen. I don't know if it'll be Real Madrid, but it could be Barcelona, and probably I'd say in about 2 or 3 years, I think he'll
Yeah.
go. And I wouldn't step in his way, if you know what I mean. As long as we get the
Yeah.
right offer, I've always think like no player's bigger than the club.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think no player or manager is bigger than any club, but I think your club can be bigger because of them. But I was actually watching this thing it's called Saturday Social, right? And there
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
question, and
Is
it
that
was,
about Burkamp?
oh yeah, that was a load of nonsense. I was pretty annoyed. No, I wasn't annoyed, but it just
It's
irritated
crazy.
me.
He's one of the
But
best players I've ever seen.
I know. I mean, and I was watching it, and there was a question: will Aguero or Haaland, I think, have a bigger impact or have a bigger legacy? I mean, even though Haaland's
Oh,
breaking records, I just don't think he'll have the same impact. I just think Aguero, the way he changed, Man City as a club football,
yeah. For
I
me, it'd be
just,
Aguero.
I just don't see Haaland having that impact. I mean, don't get me wrong, Haaland is incredible, but
Mm.
I just don't see him having the same legacy as Aguero personally. But yeah,
I've actually so a few years so my dad had cancer, and my mum got in touch with this foundation called the Honey Rose Foundation. They sort of like make wishes for people, for adults, and we got
yeah,
invited to Man City training ground, and we actually met the City players. So this is in like 2017. So we
yeah,
met Aguero. This is just that this is when just Pep's second season, just after
yeah.
his first season. And I remember meeting Aguero, and he's the only player I've had. I don't get nervous meeting famous people, um, but I got goosebumps meeting him just because
Oh,
he's
I
so
love.
cool.
Yeah,
He's
there's
so cool.
there's
I've
players
got
you'll
pictures
meet and
as
you'll
well.
be. Yeah, Aguero.
Yeah.
I love Aguero personally. I think I don't think Haaland will ever have that same impact. I mean, I think Haaland is incredible, and I do agree with this comment. Actually, I don't think. I don't see Haaland being like here for
Oh
maybe
no,
the same
no.
time an Henry or Guerrero. I do agree, like you said. I reckon Haaland will stay if for like I'd reckon like you said, 2 or 3 more
2 or
seasons or
3 years
years.
should be gone.
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
5 years
think.
at City is
Yeah,
good enough. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it'll be like a long term thing, but I think the fact he's come to the Premier League and really made an impact helps City a lot. I think it's going to be interesting next year because Arsenal have obviously figured out how to mark Haaland, how to keep him quiet, and I do wonder, it does frustrate him probably. I wonder next season how
I yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not only Arsenal though. It's Liverpool. It's
yeah.
I've been it's
Don't
I can't that was cute. It's but yeah, but it's not just Arsenal that have figured out how to mark Haaland. It's a few teams, but um, he can create this space that which will allow other players to come in. But I just want a bit more from him.
yeah, yeah,
I,
I
I,
agree.
I'm not expecting the 50, 60 goals a season from him.
Yeah,
That
that's a
last
lot.
season was just crazy. It's unreal. But I just want a bit um, more involvement. That's all.
Yeah, I think I suppose it's like the overall play, assisting as well, not just scoring, creating things for other players.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think next season will definitely be interesting to see, if he will get better. I mean, I think strikers, I look at if we got a striker, I would probably expect them to score maybe 20 goals, maybe in the Premier League or a bit more than that. I mean, other competitions as well. I think,
Yeah, yeah.
Holland has broken a lot of records last season.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it'll be good for him not to be a long term one. But I
Mhm.
do feel like a lot of teams have managed to figure him out, even though he's really difficult and he did have quite a few chances in the game today. But it'd be tough, but it'd be really interesting with the league. I think I've always had the mindset, especially last season. I know fans got carried away, and I think that's fine to enjoy the moment, but I always take it game at a time because, last season we did really well, and then we just drop off to teams. The West Ham game, Liverpool game, that was the moment where we dropped off. So I think for me, I've always I think you've got to take it game by game, and I think Spurs could really help us. I don't want them to win, obviously,
They could
but I
Spurs
think,
could help you, but they could hinder you as well. They could hurt
yeah,
you.
that's the thing because when we play them, we have to
Mhm.
win. Like, there's no, and the fact it's away as well is I'd rather it be at home, but yeah, it is going to be a difficult one. Villa as well, so I think I think if Arsenal don't win, I do think Liverpool have a good chance because
I yeah.
yeah, I think
I would say with Arsenal, you So from now on to the end of the season, each week you have to match or better Liverpool's
Yeah.
results. You have to at least match it or better it. That's that's especially in the title race. You have to. There's just no
Yeah.
way around it. But yeah, like you, game to game, I don't get carried away. Um, I always think um, it only matters who's top at the end of the season.
Yeah, exactly. I
Obviously, you
think,
want to be first now, in terms of momentum,
yeah, he doesn't.
but it only matters after 38 games.
Yeah, exactly. I think, at the moment, you do want to be top of the league. I mean, when Arsenal were top of the league for the last few weeks, it's a nice feeling. But at the same
Yeah,
time,
of course it
we
is.
knew, I did know that we probably would go back down again. I think beating City would always have been a difficult task. I mean, and other teams we've got coming up as well. I do think, like you said, I do see us all dropping points because I think I think the Premier League now is so unpredictable. Maybe a few seasons ago, if Arsenal played Brighton, I could tell you we're going to win and I'd be confident. But if we played them now, I'm not sure we could win because we've actually struggled to beat them
Yeah,
in
they've
recent
got some
years.
results against you. Yeah,
Yeah, it's hard. I think Brighton's actually a team I really do like. I think they're doing really good. Unfortunately, didn't win today, but I just think the Premier League is so tough at the moment. So I think any team can get any result. And like you said, you want to be the team in the season. With on top, I do think as well goal difference is going to be massive. I mean,
mm.
Arsenal luckily have been on a good run where we've been scoring lots of goals, but it would feel really like a slap in the face if you lost on goal difference. I'd be mortified because you couldn't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
done any more to change that, really.
No, it's yeah, it'd be. So I remember before you went on that run where you're scoring like four, five, six sixes, you were struggling to score, and you
Yeah,
a lot. Just I remember in the January transfer window just was closing, and people were panic. I remember some Arsenal fans on Twitter were panicking. They go, "Why aren't we signing anyone?"
I know. Yeah,
And then like a week later, just slapping teams left, right, and centre, and they go, "Oh, that's why." It's just funny how
yeah.
it works out. Yeah,
It
and you,
is. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
and
crazy.
you
I mean,
go,
before Dubai as well,
yeah,
we were so bad. Like we
yeah,
were on a
yeah.
really bad one. It's just changed like that. It's crazy.
I remember when I remember a few years ago, you lost to Burnley 1-0 at home. I remember on AFTV, Robbie asked Ty or Arsenal in the relegation battle. I remember laughing at that, thinking, "How are Arsenal in the relegation battle?" And then you've
Yeah.
come so far just from then in
I mean,
a short period.
yeah, I agree. I think for me, I can't remember what season it was. It might have been the season where we went to get top four, but I remember I think it was our first three games. We lost all of them, and
Yeah, you
and
lost to Brentford, Chelsea, and City. That was the City game when you lost
oh,
5-0.
do you know
Yeah,
what? It was,
yeah, yeah.
oh God, like I did think like I don't see us improving here, and then look at the end of that season, and we really nearly got top four, and I think that was harder than last season because I think last season you could really see a massive improvement and you could see, we're able to compete. I think that season was really devastating, but I think it just shows you Arsenal how much they've improved, and I do think Man City definitely are in it as well, even though you are a few points behind. But things do change quickly in football, and I'm really excited to see how it goes. But I do want to thank you so much for coming on my channel today. I've really
No worries.
enjoyed it.
I did as
We
well. It's got longer than I
Yeah,
thought it would, but it's good.
yeah.
It's really nice to meet you, Sophie.
Oh, you too. We'll definitely have to do something at the end of the season to see
Yeah,
who's
no worries.
won, and we might both be upset, but we'll have to come on
We'll
and do
do.
it.
I'll do a season review if you want. I'm
Yeah,
happy to do that. Yeah,
yeah, that would be good. And I hope you guys are watching this have enjoyed this as well.
take care,
Don't
guys.
forget to like this video and subscribe, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.